beneath your feet! Sacred grounds, watered with tears of blood! Shall we begin? Shall we begin? Shall we begin?
What's going on? Hail the chat. And before I begin tonight, yes, my brother's streaming out of his basement. And no, I ain't living in this basement. I'm just streaming out of it because you got to do what you got to do sometimes, y'all. You get a setback when something happens in your life, when you've got to step up. You got to fight a little harder than you did the day before. When you have to do what you have to do, you keep it pushing. You believe in yourself. You don't stop. When people are coming after you, when they're talking trash on you, when they're these hoovering hobgoblins come and try and infect your life, you smack them down like toxic gnats and you don't let them affect you. You keep it pushing. You keep believing in yourself. You love yourself. You be a friend to yourself. And you do not let anyone or anything stop you in your pursuit of being the best version of yourself. This is what we do as narcissistic abuse survivors. This is what we do as people who have had beautiful, big, wonderful hearts, empathetic, compassionate souls that are targeted for harassment by these demonic, these demonic goblins that pop out from underneath a porn theater like a cock goblin, trying to suck the energy out of your life. This is what you do. You keep pushing. You keep pressing. You believe in yourself. Don't let nobody tell you or dictate to you your worth. Keep it pressing, keep it moving. And I'm gonna stream out of basement today. Sweaty as hell with bad looking hair. And with me today is the one, the only, my homie, Scott Clarke. What's going on, man? I can't hear a damn thing you're saying, Scott. I should have just let you keep talking and like muted. I really should have let.
You didn't see the puppet? I was miming. That's what I was
my
doing.
bad.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say, your hair looks great, man. It looks like you just got done with working out. Or
it's horrible.
Yeah, looks great.
I was moving my loud angry cock. We moved it out of my house and into my parents' house today, and I didn't get time to take a shower or anything. So that's what happened to me.
You have a cockatoo? Is that bird?
Yeah. We found a nice home for it with someone who's going to love it, my mother, because it was too loud for me, Scott. It was too loud and angry. I couldn't handle it.
Angry. Well, good to be here. Here we are. Another week has passed, and here we are with Dragonstorm. We're going to talk about the healing journey.
We absolutely are. And with us is a very special guest. Randy's got the link, but he'll get here when he gets here, or else I'll be introducing him. Where you at, Randy? But first, someone that we covered a few weeks ago and was blessed enough to start communicating with, a wonderful, beautiful, bright light in the community. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Shawn K Howerton.
Hello, everyone.
Howdy.
Nice to be here.
We appreciate you being here. I know you're going to be busy soon, and so I'm glad you could fit us into your schedule.
I will always fit you guys into my schedule. No doubt about it.
Oh.
This is a very important topic, and it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do, for the audience.
Yeah, so I am a relationship coach. I basically work in the realm of narcissism recovery. My story is one of severe abuse. I was with a covert malignant narcissist for 25 years. Before that, I had a narcissistic mom. I was a mom for a long time, raised two sets of wonderful twins. They're grown now. I've been doing coaching for about a year and a half now. And I'm about to start law school in August. So I'm super excited about that. But my passion is definitely in the coaching realm. I coach men and women who are either still in narcissistic relationships or just coming out and are very confused and still gaslit and trauma bonded. And we all know the drill. And what I like to think I do is go into that forest and they're in a cloud and they don't know the way out. And I take hold of them and I take them out. I take them back into that light.
That's beautiful. And the amount of the patience that it must take when you're trying to help someone who's going through that. I mean, it's one of the things that I've started talking to one or two people. I'm not coaching by any means, but just giving advice. And the difficulty that I've found in people who are still trauma bonded, they're still in the relationship or they keep going back or accept the Hoovers. How do you help them to get to a point where they can go no contact and stay away from their abuser?
It's repetition. And that's one of the things that's so hard with a narcissistic abuse victim, right? They keep talking to their friends and their family about the same thing over and over and over again. And their friends and family get to a point where they don't want to hear it anymore. And so what it is our brains are trying to protect ourselves, trying to protect us. And so it's saying, if I can just find a solution to this, if I can find out why. So it goes over it and over and over it. But the problem is something that doesn't make sense, our brains can't make sense of it. Obviously, we don't think like them. So someone who keeps going back to their abuser, every time they come back to me, I try to take the emotion out of it and set the facts, take the emotion out of it and set the facts. And it's a tedious, long process. But what we have to do is build new grooves in the brain, because we have been conditioned by the narcissist to think that everything is our fault and we're the problem and we'll never get better than they are. And so we keep running back to our abuser. Part of it's chemical too, as you know. It's a, it's a hit every time we run to them. But I have found that it takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of repetition and time. But that person has to be willing to do it too. I mean, I have spent honestly a fortune on coaching and therapy, and I still go to coaching and therapy. But you have to be determined to get better, because it's easier to stay sick sometimes. Sometimes though, you get sick of being sick and you want to get better, and you'll do it at all costs. And that's kind of what happened to me.
Shawn, what you're saying there, are you talking about, are you talking about rebuilding, they call it neural pathways?
Yes.
Have you heard,
That's
like
exactly
you're just in bad habits, bad repetition, you're doing the wrong things, doing things over and over and over, and you can't seem to break free. And so you have to do different things and break those habits. Neural pathways, is that what they call it?
Correct. Neural pathways. Exactly. And it's really hard to do. Typically, coaching is 1 hour a week, 1 hour a week. So I'm trying to build new neural pathways with someone in 1 hour a week when they're spending the rest of the week ruminating and or with the narcissist.
Right.
It's not an easy thing. And it's an expensive endeavor. I mean, it truly is. That's why I offer group coaching as well, because it doesn't cost as much. And people also get to share their stories with other men and women who've been through it. And it makes them feel not so alone. Those aha moments that you have, you're like, oh my gosh, when you begin to realize that narcissists all kind of follow the same pattern, and that us abuse victims all suffered pretty much the same thing, it is so incredibly eye-opening and reassuring. So if I can get somebody in coaching once a week with me and then get them into a group, or at least the group, if they ask which is better, I'm like, look, if you'll come every week, go to the group. If you can't afford to do individual coaching, go to the group, or do both if you really can. But knowing that you're not alone is leaps and bounds. It heads you into recovery. And I also really encourage everybody to talk outside of the group. When I send out the email, I send out the 2. I don't BCC everyone. I send it out so they all have their email addresses. And I encourage them, like, outside of this group, you guys connect, you guys talk, you guys, get to know one another and support one another.
That is so very true. And is there a difference? You see a difference when you have people that are working in groups together that can, bounce ideas or support one another?
Oh, absolutely. When I have people, especially, it's interesting because if you've got, 12 or 15 people on a call, they're all at different stages. So you've got people who are, just been discarded. You've got people that are a few months ahead of them. And then you've got people that are, so they're supporting each other and saying, okay, come on, I was right where you were. And I promise you in 3 months or 6 months, you're going to feel differently. And then, you've got somebody that's a year out or 2 years out, and people can see, okay, there's a light because this person is a little bit ahead of me. And then that person can see that this person's a little bit ahead of me. And, just gives them hope that there is going to be a change. It's not going to feel like this forever.
Yeah, it meant a lot to me when I started building this channel and talking to people in the chat, having other people to bounce thoughts and feelings off of, to be around people who have had the same experience. As Scott has said many times, it's like these narcissists go to It's like, what college are they going to? How do they all run the same routines? How do they all run the same scripts? I mean, Scotty, I mean, how did you say it when you were talking about that?
When I first learned about narcissism, it was around January of 22, final discard physically. And I was talking to someone on the phone, a friend, an old friend that I hadn't talked to in a long time. I literally kind of had nobody. So I reached out. Actually, it was randomly, they reached out to me on Facebook, and I said, I got to talk to this person. And I was explaining this relationship, and this is an old friend of mine, and she'd been married and divorced as well. And she said, I think you're going through the same thing that I just went through. And I'm like, what's that? And she said, I'm going to send you a couple. She said, I can't explain it. You wouldn't understand if I try to talk about it. And she sent me a couple of links to Dr. Romani. Never heard of Dr. Romani. This was not my world. Now it's my entire YouTube feed. Narcissism. Right. It used to be Bible prophecy. Now it's narcissism. And the reason is because like it's this dopamine hit to make myself feel like I'm not alone, like I'm not crazy. Like this is literally, there's these demons walking around in flesh like me, and I didn't know about it until I was 50 years old. And so I went down the rabbit trail, and I started to think about this. And to answer your question, I was like, okay, these are people from all walks of life at all kinds of different ages. How are they behaving? All the pattern. They lift someone, put them on a pedestal, and then they're hooking them. They shoot them off the pedestal, and they kick them when they're down, and they throw them out. And then they already had some. They're doing the same pattern. Somebody else is on a pedestal. So I'll put somebody else on a pedestal, and then I'll knock you. Somebody else is on a pedestal, and I'm gonna. And this pattern. You know, if you see my YouTube channel, I have these big biz of timelines and things. And so I see things that way. With these big graphs and charts, I started seeing that way. And I think I'm going to start making some graphs, show how it works in time, the pattern. And I've been having these ideas of doing some graphic artwork about how narcissism looks. I started realizing these people don't go to school for this. How are they learning this pattern of behavior? Because I don't think anything like this at all. I thought I was supposed to be good to people as best I can. I mean, I have screwed up some ropes. I've hurt people. I've broken some hearts. But on purpose, because I made bad choices. Sometimes I make decisions or in a crisis, and it ends up affecting people. But I don't hurt people to target them. I don't see people as my enemy. I don't competition. I don't envy anyone. All of these people, like that movie, you know, They Live, puts on the glasses, the alien demon, and he takes off the glass. He can't see them, and he can see them, and they live. They're surrounded by them. And I just thought, this has to be demonic. I'm well versed in the whole Christian thing. I was a Catholic altar boy when I was a kid. I started playing drums in church when I was 16. And I've played drums in church since I was 40s, and I was a church drummer. I've been around this Christian thing. I knew about the demons and that Jesus casted demons out of people. And then I studied the scriptures a lot more since then, and I realized that's never stopped. No end to that. Jesus didn't stop that. He just actually did that a few times in his ministry, but that's not over. That's literally a thing that goes in the humans. This is who they are. We just put the word narcissism on it, which doesn't really be the right word. I've called it satanic personality disorder. But it is. As that sounds, I don't care. That's what you did to me, you piece of crap. That's what you did to me. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. You know, it's interesting because I too, you know, when I first started learning about narcissism, and I was watching some YouTube channels, and, you know, we're talking about the dark triad and, you know, whether or not it was spiritual. And I remember at first I was like, nah, that's got to be like hocus pocus. And then the longer you study it and the more you realize they do all follow a similar pattern. And I started thinking about how, you know, the snake must have slithered up to Eve in the garden and she said, or he said, you need to bite this apple because if you do, you'll be like God. God just doesn't want you to be like him. And the way he twisted the truth got her to bite the apple. And I started thinking, oh my God, that's a narcissist. They take the truth and they twist it and they flip it and they manipulate it and they deceive and they lie, and that gaslighting.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, damn, the no empathy, the black in the eyes. I said, there's something to this. And the more I looked into it and the more I looked into it, I realized, and when I started coaching, most of the people, not all, but most of the people coming to me were light souls. And I could see their aura, and they were good people. And they were with these dark souls. And I call them dark souls on my channel. I call them black souls. I call them black souls. And they always are trying to attach to a light soul. And then I started thinking about evil walks among us, a wolf in sheep's clothing, sleeping with the enemy. I'm like, damn, these people have been around since the beginning of time. What it is they've learned, kind of like the aliens, to adapt. They know how they're supposed to act. That's why the mask falls when they discard you when they're done. They know how they're supposed to act. They've been hiding among us for a long time. And we thought as a society, we had grown beyond that kind of thing. No, we didn't. As a matter of fact, I almost wonder if good and bad is ramping up with everything going on in the world. And maybe that's why we're seeing more and more of it. And thank God, that we have these kind of channels to get that kind of information out there. Because you imagine if we were walking around thinking it was still us and there was something wrong with us as they had led us to believe.
Well, how many people do? Like, how many people are walking around at this point who I never heard of? I knew I've heard the word narcissist or narcissism, but I didn't know what narcissistic personality disorder was. I've heard of psychopaths, but that's like Mike Myers, like movie psychopaths, not in real life psychos. I didn't really know about those things, and it wasn't until I was targeted by those types and then went through hell for years that I researched and discovered it. And then you look back, I say on my channel, you get these new pair of eyes when you go through the education phase, and you look back in your history and you can see things entirely different. You see people for who they were. And what you also, and it's also, as a side note, very important to heal yourself. There's a reason that we let those red flags go. There's a reason that we didn't see those things and we kept going back. You've got to heal yourself. I mean, not just from what the narcissist did, but also what led you to being that susceptible. But anyway, that new pair of eyes, you look back and you can see them. You can just see them coming. And it's because I think we learn as we heal to pay attention to words and actions. What does someone say and what do they do? Actions speak louder than words. We pay attention to those things after we've been hurt. We pay attention to how a person moves and how they operate. But if I had not found channels that educated me on these things, then I very well could have kept walking around thinking there was something wrong with me. I was actually the bad guy. I was the liar. I was the cheat. I didn't cheat, but I was the one who made the cheating happen. I was, there's a lot of broken souls out there. And I think that's why it's very important for people like you and Scott and Randy and those of us to just talk about them at whatever level, whether it's just me, just casually speaking about it, or, people who do coaching like you. It's important.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And one of the things I'd like to add is I can honestly say and I have to say God brought the truth to me. It's seek and ye shall find. I was trying to figure out the truth, but I don't think I would be here. I don't think I would be here. I could not have lived with that. Everything he threw on me, I couldn't sustain that kind of guilt, feeling as if I was responsible, embarrassment, pain, humiliation, all of it. I could not have been here. And so thank God for people like you guys, because and other people who have put out information, because I could not have sustained it. I almost didn't. And a narcissist, I I've heard this before, and I believe it was on your show. The ultimate goal of the narcissist is for you to take your own life.
That's what I believe. Yeah, I believe that because it's like the ultimate trophy. And oddly enough, I don't want to get too far into it, but I got it down to a cycle. I understand the wheel of the year when it comes to what I was going through. And I just went through a Hoover period, or what that would have been. And one of the ways the Hoover was initiated was there was someone who died in our community, in my Indie Sphere YouTube community. And somehow NarcX thought that it was me, or got the idea that it was me, and began going around to all of my friends and all of our friends, there are the people in the mutual area, and saying, he's dead. I can't handle another death. Steve's dead. Just all about her. She can't handle it. But also like really hoping that I had died. Because in that way, the narcissist looks at it like they can now play the victim. They can now be hurt. I know that person loved me, but they were sick. Remember all the things I told you about them? Though they couldn't handle, they took their life. And now I have to live with the guilt of dealing with that person. That is, and then behind closed doors, they're snickering. They're snickering and laughing with their flying monkeys, or, their closest evil minions. And, haha, look, they couldn't handle it. It is evil.
So evil. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's evil. It's just evil. There's no other word for it.
It is. And then we go back to like the spiritual warfare topic. Like I enjoy talking with people like Scott, very spiritual person. One of my co-hosts, Immortal Coil, spiritual person. And I was glad when I was talking to you, the first thing you brought up was that this is a spiritual warfare. It absolutely is. You look at from my experience and my knowledge, people who are usually targeted by narcissists or psychopaths are people who are very compassionate, very empathetic, but have weak boundaries. There's some type of abandonment. There's some type of codependency or anxious attachment that they have to deal with from childhood. And they see that and they prey on that. And like narcissists and psychopaths are cowards, first off. They want to emulate and be with strong people, but if they find somebody with strong boundaries, they back away because they can't manipulate them. And then they'll find somebody who can be manipulated, who they can use their traumas, and then love bomb them, create the idolization, and then do something horrid. And when they're forgiven, look at that person that they just betrayed as a complete piece of trash because they forgave them. Like what is that?
I know.
Everything is the opposite. Scott said this plenty of times. It's all 180. Good is evil, evil is good. Lying is the truth is a lie. And it's
so good. Yeah. So true.
It's all backwards.
And, and if you think about it, it says in the end times, not that this is the end times, and I'm not getting all crazy here, but it says good will become bad and bad will become good. Right. And you think about the narcissist, it is a 180. It's completely, that way. And I wanted to add too, we were talking about put you up on the pedestal. I had not heard that. My ex-husband said to me, at the end of our marriage, he said, I put you on a pedestal. And then I started hearing this. Oh my gosh. He literally said it to me. He literally told me he put me on a pedestal. He didn't say this part, but he did it just to knock my ass off, right? Yeah. So they know exactly what they're doing.
That just shows you they know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. They know exactly what they're doing. Go ahead, Scotty. Preach on it, brother.
I'm just one of these things. I literally, like, if you can see on my phone, I just save memes. Like, this is my photos. I just save memes constantly on my phone. Doom scrolling. I get lost in the. Yeah, I'm just looking for people to tell me something to make me feel, sometimes, and. Because I need to build new neural pathways sometimes still after years of I'm still dealing with, and it's just, I can't say it's nice that there's so much Instagram and on all the platforms, some memes, and I say that rampant. It feels like it's endemic of our time. Like it's not a virus. The virus, narcissism. Virus is this personality style that it I even watched a doctor talk about this recently. They said there is no gene. It's physics passed on down. They really can't find that. It has to patterns of abuse that go through by most neglect from their parents, because they were neglected from their parents, who were neglected from their parents, who were neglected from their parents. And that's the virus. The virus is that kids are not being right, and they end up and creating, it's a person style at, I don't know how it works, but it seems like somehow I'll take over. I don't know if that's, but it seems like, because all of the same thing, it's not a new, it's new, you're not like an individual where you're like an authentic new, nobody's like you, you know. That's, somebody will tell an empath, an authentic person, you know, if they would, you would do anything, because there would be a hole, in the world, because you're an authentic and there's no one like you. You can't say that to a narcissist. Same garbage people. And where did that come from? It's a personality thing, and it's a virus, and it's an I think it's in 2 Timothy you're talking about, Shawn. It's in 2 Timothy. Paul was talking about in the end times, people will be lovers of good, lovers of evil. Why? Because of spreading, maybe?
Scotty, check your cables. You're skipping out a little bit. Your internet's skipping in and out.
I should have asked that earlier.
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt you. You're on a roll. And like every other word was beautiful. I loved hearing it.
Okay. I tell you what, you amongst yourselves over there, you jump out and come
whatever
up.
You just said, yes, you got it. So,
I do want to add to what Scott was saying about narcissism. I have this very strong belief, and I could be completely wrong, but I can very much remember as a child some very interesting things happening to me. Very interesting things. I could have made a choice. I could have made a choice to follow God, or made a choice to follow evil. And I think we all make those choices when we're young.
mm-hmm.
And it seems that whether you're an empath, which is unhealthy too, it's denying the self, or whether you're a narcissist, which is everybody's out for themselves, so I'm going to be out for myself too. Either one is not healthy. It's opposite ends of the spectrum. But what I think is, we all make choices in life, right? Let's say left is bad. No politics intended here. Right is good.
Right.
Okay. And let's say the more lefts we make in life, the more we go down the dark path. The more rights we make in life, because we make them both, the more we go towards the light. I can say, and I have this too with my clients who've been in long-term marriages. Although my ex-husband, from the very start, I could tell things weren't exactly, they weren't normal. The man at 25 years that ultimately divorced me, and the green-eyed, blonde-haired young man I married, two completely different people. And I remember saying to him, "You're making choices that are leading you down the wrong path, babe. You're not going to be able to come back from this. We're not going to be able to come back from this." And I think this is very tempting to a lot of people.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. And I think God works everything to his glory. And thank God we can get information like this out via these things. But there's a lot of evil on here too. And I think the more he kept going towards that, I could see him getting darker and darker. Because at the end of our lives, what's left? It's not our education. It's not what we look like. It's not how much money we made. It's our soul. That's it.
Yeah.
All we take with us, right? So either we've improved our soul and we've grown closer to God and we've learned our lessons and we've become more empathetic and better people, or we haven't. That's it. That's all we've got. So again, life is choices. And I hope that we will always try to strive to be better. That's the goal. But these people don't. They strive to have more, to get away with more, to lie more, to more materialism, more worldly possessions. Not, their goal is not to be a better person, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so things like the evolution of self, like you said about making those choices early in life. I've definitely taken the time to think about that for myself as I went to therapy and looked at my childhood traumas, what led me down the paths that I went to, what I needed to heal in myself. And I definitely came to points where there were decisions I needed to make. Am I going to be completely selfish? Selfless, or am I going to take the middle road, some type of middle road? I think that from what I have been able to discern thus far under my understanding of the condition is you have these people that are hurt that have to create this narcissistic shell. They have to create this protection mechanism, which we all do when we go through childhood traumas. But at some point in our adolescence, we open up. We have to heal that. We talk to somebody. We have to come to some type of resolution. Whether it's healthy or not, we look at it, and then depending on the amount of trauma we went through in our childhood, it may take a lifetime to get through. I don't think narcissists don't do that. Instead, they decide to reinforce that shell. They don't want to heal themselves. They need external validation in order to keep up that false facade, to get away from healing, from shame, from looking inward. And so all of their energy goes into that, whatever type of addiction they get into, whether it's sex addiction, porn addiction, drug addiction. I think habitual lying is an addiction. But they put all this energy into these external things in order to draw from, to sustain their false facade, to avoid healing. And all that does is compound the problem. I mean, even if you're neuronormative, if you're someone who just has some issues, or you went through, say, got a little couple daddy issue or mommy issue in your life, and if you avoid that, it will grow, it will fester, it will become something bigger than what it was because you've avoided healing that. Narcissists not only avoid healing that, but they compound it. I am a strong believer that a narcissist will tell you exactly what hurts them because that's how they hurt you. They'll tell you what it is in them they are shameful of, and that's how they will degrade you. If they are, if they have insecurities about the way that they look, they're going to get on you about your looks. They're going to try and, lower your expectations or lower your worth and as far as your aesthetics. And they use that against you. And you're right. It is making the choice in my opinion, it is making the choice to do evil, to continue to do evil. And letting themselves get locked into a cycle of needing to commit those evils continually in order to self-sustain this fake persona of many faces that they put on throughout their lives, depending upon the situation, who they need to manipulate. All of that is just all of the energy that gets put into being an evil douchebag like that, when you could just be a positive person, be a good person, work on a project, build something. Not that some narcissists are cerebral, and they do, but in the end, it's self-defeating. It is always a self-defeating system. What's up, Scotty? You doing a little better? Scotty.
Audio's glitching because you guys listening to you do it too.
It's your
I don't know
internet.
how to fix my audio.
Well,
it's fine before we went live.
Is there a narcissist outside messing with your Wi-Fi?
I don't know.
Are they out there coming after you, hoovering your Wi-Fi?
Chewing on the cable. Chewing on the cable.
Shawn, I wanted to ask because I'm I want to get a life coaching certificate, and I want to start getting into that and helping people. Because for me, learning about this and then healing and understanding, everything it takes to break free mentally, emotionally, spiritually from these people, it takes a lot. You need help, and I want to pay it forward. I really do. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to ask you, how long did it take between the time that you went no contact or you gray rocked or whatever your situation was to when you started to coach others?
Let's see. So I kind of look at it like the end of my old life and the beginning of my new life happened when I moved out of our marital home. Our divorce was final in March of 2022. And I moved out of our home in July of 2022. And I started coaching in July of 2023. And now we're here in July of 2024. I could not get my bearings until after I got out of the house. I just couldn't. I couldn't be around all of our things. It was not possible. So what happened was I studied for the LSAT and I got into law school. It's a very long story, but basically I did not go. I found a coach, great guy. He was an ex-reverend, and I started working with him, and I started making monumental progress. And here I'd been working with all these other therapists, and I just was not able to get any ground. Once I started working with him, and he really brought it. He said, he's like, okay, your ex is evil. And I think he is, I really do think that he's a psychopath. And he said, I mean, he was just laying it out. He's like, look, you've got a story to tell. I really see you in the coaching realm. I really think that you should get out there and start coaching. And I really wasn't ready to go to law school yet. I really didn't know what I wanted to do. So I got in, but I didn't go. And the more I worked with him, the more I felt the calling from God to coach, to get my story out there, because there are some great women in this realm. And I don't speak to everyone, but had there been a woman like me out there saying, you know what, I too felt completely alone, and I too was using alcohol to numb the pain, and I too felt like it was all my fault. And I'm here to tell you it's not. I'm here to tell you you can get out of this, and you're going to be okay. That would have meant everything to me. It may have saved me from my suicide attempts. It may have saved me from my nervous breakdown. It may have saved me from a lot. And so I said, okay, God's calling me to do this. He just kept knocking at me like, do it. And I was like, I'm not prepared. I'm not ready. Like, I'm still healing. God said, I don't care. You're going to do it anyway, because your pain is going to bring people, because they're going to see that you're still hurting and that you're sincere about what you're saying. And so I said, okay, I'm going to answer this calling. And I got my certification and I started my channel, and I really started from nothing. And it just started growing, and it's been amazing. And as I've coached other people, I'm sure you know, it was healing for me, because as I'm coaching another man or woman and they're telling me their experience, I'm like, this light bulb's going off, and I'm like, I've been there. I know exactly what you're feeling. And that connection, you know, I'm not a therapist. I'm a coach. I'm a life coach, which means I've been through that. I know exactly. You know, I always say there's a difference between a professor who's a historian. That's great that he's a professor and he understands, let's say, World War II. There's a big difference between him and a soldier that served on the lines in World War II. I am not a therapist, but I've been on the front lines of narcissism, and I know how to put your ass on my back and walk off the field, you know, walk off the beach like in Normandy. I'm going to I have your back, you know, and I'm not going to give up on you. You know, no matter how many times I have a client that comes back to me and said, I broke the no contact, or I reached out to him, or I'm back with him. I've got your back. I'm not giving up on you. Where my therapist, several therapists that are like, I can't help you. You know, what do you mean you can't help me? Well, you know, I'm afraid I'm going to lose my license because you've had a second suicide attempt, and I can't help you. I mean, I was like, is this a joke? I've had a second suicide attempt and you're cutting me loose. I felt so alone. It was unbelievable. Where I'm not bound by those rules. I'm not going to let anybody go, you know?
There was a woman I was talking to, and she was seeing a therapist for PTSD while she was still seeing a psychopath. You know, he's a narcissist, a malignant, probably. You know, and so the therapist was talking to her and basically gave her the advice, Maybe you just can't be in a relationship with this person, but maybe why don't you just be friends? That is someone that does not understand what a narcissist is. They don't understand it. And it's I'm not necessarily saying it's the therapist's fault, but that's why it is so important for people who have been through it to be out here letting you know. And is it at all triggering for you? Because I find it triggering for me when I'm talking to giving advice to people. When they go back after a no contact period, and then they just, it's usually creating some type of instance. And I understand that because I kind of did that. I did that too, but creating an instance where you're going to run into, or there's going to be communication, and then the communication takes place, and then the cycle starts all over again. And for me, it's a little triggering. Like, how do you get through that, creating any kind of emotional reaction in you and being able to stay focused on helping the person?
Well, I remember when you guys were reviewing, sorry, I got to turn the air down. It's hot in here. I remember when you guys were, I know, when you guys were reviewing my videos and you said, I kind of had a mothering energy. And I think maybe because I raised 2 sets of twins, when I'm coaching these people, it's not triggering for me. It makes me want to cry. It breaks my heart because I remember that woman that kept going back, and I'm going to get teary-eyed and begging, saying, please don't destroy our family. Please don't do this. And he didn't care. And so I know their pain, and it just makes me want to help them more. I just want to help them more. So
that's a lot of compassion on, and I'm glad that you're able to do that. I guess I still have to work on it with myself because I get frustrated. I get short-tempered maybe. And I think that still has to do with the emotional reaction, which is the one thing that I discovered I needed to work on. Control your fifis, ladies and gentlemen. All right. If you are a passionate person, because narcissists, toxic people of all types prey on that. That's why they troll you. That's why trolls troll, because they want to get an emotional reaction out of you, any negative personality type. And they'll play on that. Narcissists, most especially, psychopaths, sociopaths. And they don't, and borderlines, it ain't going to therapy. Borderlines go to therapy. They want to whip you up because it gives them a feeling of control, gives them or satisfies whatever negative impulse they have within them. But controlling, as far as controlling my emotions, when I get upset, and I'm not getting upset at the person necessarily. I'm upset at the situation, because I've been through this. I've been down this road. I gave myself over and over again to somebody who showed time and time again that they did not care about me. They smear campaigned me, set me up. Each cycle was the same thing. I'm sorry. Let's have sex. Let's be friends, or let's do this, or I understand that person was toxic, the triangulating person was toxic. And then it always ended with some kind of hysterical nonsense that I would respond to rationally or irrationally, early in. And then I'm the bad guy. And it was over and over and over and over again. Smear campaigns, endless. It's the same cycle of events, the people not taking any accountability and blaming everything on you. And so I see somebody go back to that, or I hear somebody go back to that, and I'm just like, oh, you were almost there. You were almost there. You almost got away from it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I don't think that's a bad thing, Steve. I think that's part of your personality that says, come on, don't do that. Where I'm on the other side and I'm like, oh gosh, oh, you poor thing. Like, what are you thinking? Like, we're at opposite ends, but I don't think either one is a bad thing. And I don't think that, I think obviously, when you start coaching, there's going to be people that are drawn to that maybe kind of like what you guys are talking about on the video, if you're doing a bench press, you don't want somebody going, come on, it was Scott, you can do this. You want somebody like, do it now and go, and that might be your personality. You might be like, look, what are you thinking? Like, you can't go back to this person. It'll be your own coaching style. And I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. And I think that kind of anger is justified because what they're going into. That they're going to get slapped again and slapped hard. And you don't want that for them. You want them to be able to pull them out. And so you'll have your own unique style. And I think that's fantastic.
Thank you. That's so positive and wonderful, and I love that. I appreciate it. Yeah, well, actually, I was talking about that with Randy and Scott about there's this one guy, I can't remember his name, but he yells. He's talking at you.
Yeah,
He's like, "Don't you pick up that phone?" I would watch him. I love that energy. Like Weave told me, I love his energy. You know, like the way he describes it. You know, he's kind of like, ignorant, like this F and this and F that. I'm like, yeah, I get that. And when Scotty introduced me to you, it was a different tone. Like I had not seen that tone before. So it was motherly and warm and matriarchal and loving. And it was just and in moments I need that. I need to hear that because I didn't get that from the person that, that hurt me or, so I think you're right. You're drawn to the types of energy that you need. The more of us that are out here talking about this is a good thing. And depending on what a person needs to hear and the space, like Lisa Lou, love Lisa Lou. She out there, girl power. Some of her videos are straight about women, just for the ladies. I understand. I'm stepping back. I understand what you're talking about, but I'm stepping back. And when I was talking with Lisa, she was saying, I'm glad that I'm glad to see there's men out there that are, talking for men or speaking for men. And
it's important.
It is difficult
because most of my clients are actually men, and I think it's because there's not a lot of people out there in the realm, and there's a lot of women out there who only coach women. That was another thing. My coach, he said, Shawn, why are you only coaching women? And I said, well, I don't know if I feel comfortable coaching men. And he said, you need to coach men because men feel comfortable coming to a woman sometimes because it's a softer touch and they feel embarrassed that they've been abused, But I want to get back to what you were saying about delivery. I remember I was a communications major when I was an undergrad. And then I switched to business. But nonetheless, I had this speech class, and I thought it was very interesting. And my professor said, I want you to understand delivery. He said, there's a priest, and this priest goes to another priest and says, is it okay if I smoke while I pray? And the priest said, no, you should not smoke while you're praying. Then he went to another priest and he says, is it okay if I pray while I smoke? And the priest said, you can pray anytime. See the difference? It's still the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Beautiful.
It's just delivery.
Yeah. Right. Beautiful.
So you'll have we could say the same exact message, but it's going to come across completely different because our delivery is different.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
And a person may need to hear it in that way at any given time. Right. Randy's unable to make it, guys. I apologize. Sometimes he has scheduling conflicts. So standing in for him is my original co-host. Fresh out of freaking Washington, Seattle, Washington. Guys, welcome back, Immortal Coil. What's up, Coil? Oh, and he didn't pop it. Coil, you missed your intro. I said 5 minutes.
How you doing, everybody? A little bit thummy with the mute button. Sorry about that. This is a great panel. I really enjoy listening to everything you guys had to say. I've been away for a little bit. You guys probably saw my skull in the intro, and it's good to be here. I really like a lot of the points that you're making. How's everybody doing?
I'm doing well.
Good.
Doing well.
Good.
Yeah. So, Coil, do you have any questions? I know you're an inquisitive, very intelligent man. Any questions for our guest tonight?
Well, so my whole bag is being spiritual. I am a survivor of sorts. I haven't quite been in that much of an abusive sort of relationship, but when I was younger, particularly, I did have that tendency. I could see it going that way if I didn't redress myself. As far as the spiritual thing, I'm a big thing about like personal responsibility and self-advocacy. So I suppose my question to you guys, to the professionals, would be, what is it in us as a whatever compassionate or empathic people that seeks to be with narcissists? Is that an unconscious thing, or is there something that we're playing out as a part of a spiritual relationship dynamic? What do you think about that? And either one of you.
Okay. Would you like to take that one first, Shawn, or you want me to?
Yeah, I'll take it first. I don't think we seek out narcissists. I think narcissists seek us out, but I don't think we seek them out. I think what it is that we're broken to begin with, and typically it's from childhood trauma. And so we feel comfortable. I know in my own relationship, growing up, I had an absentee father. My mom was an immigrant from Lebanon. She had a very rough childhood. So she was very hard on me. So I was never given a chance to shine at all. I was criticized a lot. So when my ex-husband would put down my body or my face or my intelligence or not praise me, I was already used to that. So it didn't stand out as something that I should not accept. Where someone else who comes from a healthy family, they'd be like, whoa, that's not the kind of relationship I want. And they'd bounce, right? So I think that we ignore it because that's how we grew up and we don't know any better. We don't know that we deserve better than that.
Mm.
So you feel like you shifted your personality from your family dynamic over to your relationship dynamic because it was
yes.
like
and when
a comfortable thing with the person? Yeah.
And when I look back on the boyfriends I had before him, all narcissists, all of them, except for my first love. He was not, but the others absolutely were. Yeah.
Wow.
So when you gain awareness of the fact that you're attracting narcissists and you walk into the next one, does that trigger anything in your brain, or is this like a phase of perpetual unawareness until you almost die?
You become aware. You become aware because I thought it was me. I always thought it was me in every relationship. What am I doing wrong? Why can't I make this work? What's wrong with me? What? And then once you get this knowledge, I go, oh, it's me picking the wrong people. Now, I will say this. When I say narcissist, I don't attract narcissists. Say I go out with 7 guys. I would have in the past, I would have probably felt most comfortable with the narcissist because that's what I knew. And a man who complimented me a lot or whatever, kind of be like, oh, that feels weird. I don't know. Because God forbid I should be complimented because I never was, right? Now, I really trust my gut. I go out with 7 guys. I can, narcissist, and then I'm like, run, I know what I'm doing now, right? Versus before I did it.
Ain't that the truth? Mm-hmm. Isn't that the truth?
Right, Stephen? Right.
I get it. I sussed one out not too long ago, Shawn. I did.
Good.
Attracted to the toxicity. That's what I figured it was about me. Attracted to the toxicity and the love bombed evaluation because narcissistic dad taught me that. And the abandonment issues for mom. I have mommy and daddy issues, high daddy issues. And so I looked for people, to answer Coyle's question, spiritually and mentally, emotionally, people who fulfilled cycles of self-defeat, someone who I could depend on to not depend on, that I could depend on to care more about themselves than me, to be there just enough for me to need them, and then to discard me, cheat on me, leave me, use me, because that was a sure thing. A lot of it came from fear and not valuing myself, but also not learning what love was from the family dynamic, what healthy love is. So once I figured that out, like you said, it took me down that long rabbit hole of looking back at my exes and, realizing that the one before this one was left me in a room for 4 years, physically and emotionally abandoned. because she had to deal with a trauma. And the way she was dealing with a trauma was by traumatizing me. And I can also now look back and understand, oh, mom was a narcissist, and they triangulated daughter and granddaughter. And then when mom died, there was nobody to triangulate between mom and daughter. So they put me into the mix without even telling me, and just kept me there for years, thinking that I was being a good provider and a good man by staying in a relationship with a woman who needed to go through a healing process when she had no intention of healing. It was to create trauma and triangulation. And so it's like, wow, I wasted 5 years of my life there. And then I look back at, the one before it, the one before it. Understanding that. And guys, if any of y'all go through this, and I'm sure some of you may, do not feel bad. Do not look down at yourself. Learning about yourself is educating, and a greater understanding of yourself is your ability to heal and change who you are. You went through life. You can't do nothing about that. Learn from it and move on. And so, but now that I understand what I'm attracted to, it's strange, Shawn, because sometimes I look at these toxic women. I'm like, I like you too much. No, I can't do that.
No, you're right. You're right. Because I'll say to my men, I'll say, you know what? When you meet a nice girl, it's going to be boring. It's going to be boring for a little while. You're going to have to kind of push through that uncomfortable kind of boring, because you're used to that high and low. And so it seems like, this isn't really what I want.
Yeah.
So, but it's good that you recognize that. That's huge.
Well, thank you. I think it is. And like I said, I dodged one not too long ago. She didn't hook me, Shawn. I got away from it. And that's because the basic lessons.
You're like, well, it's not doing that. Yeah.
I saw every red flag, sweetheart, and said, "Oh, I see that. I know what that is. I'm paying attention now." And they started stacking up, and I cut it out. That's it. I'm not doing it.
That's what you have to do.
Thank you.
That's exactly what you have to do, right?
Yeah,
well,
it is. It is.
We date to get to know someone, and then once you've been on a few dates, sometimes it's very obvious on the first one, but then you go, just trust that gut, trust what you're seeing, and go with it, right? Because we didn't know what we were dealing with before. I mean, I always say, I knew there were red flags, but I didn't know the red flags meant a tsunami. I had no idea it meant a tsunami. I thought it meant some rough waters. What did I know? But now I know. I know those red flags are like, that's a no-go zone right there.
You don't understand. It took me a long time to understand. I had to take that Captain Save-A-Ho cape off and put it up on the wall and leave it there. Okay? Because I thought I was flying, but I was sinking.
Yeah, I get it. I totally understand that. Yeah, there's no saving these people, and we have to save ourselves, right? We have to. There's just no way around it. Yeah,
but I mean, coming back to what Coyle was saying about do you look for those things? Well, I have to say, honestly, in my case, yes, I did. I did look for them. I did look for a certain type of woman who would let me down, that was selfish, that would defeat me, that I knew one day would become unreliable. And that was my own shit. That was my own unhealed traumas. I look at this, I kind of try and put it in the perspective to people on this channel, the Dragonstorm community. Listen, take this as a learning experience. Get everything good you can get out of this experience, no matter how horrible it was. You survived, you're good, you're above ground, you made it. So learn about you and what it was about you that made you susceptible to that Hoover and Hobgoblin. All right, thank God you didn't catch an STD. You know they're a petri dish. You didn't go through that. It's learn about yourself, heal yourself, because that's the greatest takeaway from this is self-understanding, self-mastery. And people, real quick, I just want to give a shout out to some people in the chat, like Squeak and Mouse, Hail Sister, Survivor and Thriver out there. What is up? Squeak is a very special person among many who was from my old indie sphere. One of quite a few, Shawn, that I had known for years or been around in chats or on live streams with that had gone through narcissistic relationships and gone through it, and I didn't even know. And I'm glad that she's here and she's still with us. She's a sweetheart. What is going on? Cough Ravenclaw. Good to see you. One of my first subscribers. Another person, Survivor and Thriver. Joshua out there. You say not? No, wait. Don't talk trash to Squeaker, Josh. That's not cool. What's going on, Josh? Good to see you. Iman's out in the chat. Good to see you, brother. Where's Adventures with Beth? Adventures with Beth. That's one of my heroes. She's the first woman, Shawn, that I was able to flirt with. And it was just playing with each other. It was just, flirting back and forth in the chat. She's also a survivor from a malignant narcissist, and she had to escape that guy. He was like a psycho Ted Bundy type. It was horrible what she went through. Sent to the hospital, absconded away with a broken leg. Yeah, she is one of the toughest women I have ever known, and she's my toxic twin train wreck. That's our joke. I love you, but that's right, Captain Save-A-Ho, Beth. That's why I talk to you, Beth. You're my toxic boo. Choo choo coming through. No, but I meet people like Beth, and you begin a rapport with somebody, understand what they've been through, like the levels of, like, I thought I had it, like I thought I went through something bad, and then I talked to Beth, and I'm just like, the strength that you have to keep going, sweetheart. After being with someone who was abusive, like psychopathically abusive to you. Thank you for being in my life and being an angel and being a shining bright light in this chat, and being strength for people that you don't even realize, sweetheart. Thank you so much. You end up meeting so many different people that mean something to you because you understand what they've been through. Even if you didn't go through exactly their situation, you've been through that cycle. You understand the lack of empathy. You understand the black eyes. You understand the narcissistic rage. You understand, like, just a person who hurts another and gets off on it. That type of evil is difficult for people who have not been through it to understand, which is another reason why the gaslighting and smear campaigns tend to work when people who don't know what these types are like, or at worst manipulated by actual narcissists who are trying to further hoover you and smear you using a platform or a group or friends. And those people have no idea the type of evil that is leaving them down that road to actually further harass a victim. Mortal Coil, thank God for him. He's one of my only friends from my old sphere. I dealt with how many people from that old sphere, dude? That smear campaign. He did weekly live streams on me.
Oh yeah, Stephen went into hibernation for a little bit there. It was bad.
I had to isolate. Absolutely.
Terrible.
Yeah, and
I'm so sorry.
Some people.
That's just horrible.
It is.
I'm just so sorry. I really am. I can't even imagine. It's so wrong. And this is the thing. For somebody to keep coming after you like that, and coming after you and coming after you and coming after you, it speaks way more of them than it does you. Way more of them than it does you.
There's because an obsessive component there. Absolutely.
Correct. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly. I mean, what you're doing it to cause harm. You're not doing it to put information out there. You're not doing it to try to help anyone. You're doing it to cause harm to a specific person, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, even those of us who've suffered with narcissistic abuse, you don't see me streaming my ex-husband, putting up pictures of him and this and that and whatever.
Right.
No, because that's not the purpose. The purpose is to help other people. So someone who's streaming live videos of you or me or Scott or whatever, or Coil, if it's happened to you, it speaks way more of them. And anybody with half a brain should realize that.
Yeah.
That leads me to I'm sorry, Stephen. That leads me to an interesting question, Shawn, because earlier in the program, you were talking about perceiving people's auras. And if you either see or feel or can sense energy from other people, I was wondering what your take was on energetic vampirism. Does that sort of thing exist, and how does that play into a narcissistic dynamic?
Energetic vampirism? Okay. I'm going to say this. From my personal experience, yes, I can feel people's energy. I can feel people's aura. I'm not a woo-woo. I just can feel it. I can walk up to
I can feel that you feel it. Absolutely.
She's not a woo-woo.
I'm a crystal skull.
I
can see these things.
I don't have a witch's hat and a broom, although I probably use the transportation here in Atlanta. But I know that with my ex-husband, the more pain I was in, the more energy he got. And I just kind of think of him as like this dark energy, like with his hands up and getting these lightning bolts. They absolutely feed off of, they get way more energy, power, control, whatever, out of pain than they do out of happiness.
Yeah.
The more I sunk,
Yeah.
he kicked me when I was down. He kicked me when I was down. He kicked me when I was down. The happier he got. There would be times we would be fighting and I would literally be like, I'd be hyperventilating. I'd be so upset. And I could see that narcissistic smirk and his enjoyment out of it. That yes, they absolutely do. They're sick people. I keep saying they're just sick people. It's kind of like you see your dog hurting, you would take care of your animal, your children hurt, but there are people who hurt animals and there are people who hurt children. These people are those people. I'm going to share real quick something with you guys. For Father's Day, for several years ago, we went and got all these videos redone for Father's Day. And we're sitting there watching these videos. My 2-year-old son, my youngest son, I don't know where, I think I was playing tennis or something. My 2-year-old son was very upset. This little boy, okay? My ex-husband is filming him and he's upset. And he's going, oh, look at the baby cry. And my son's like, and he's screaming and he's crying. Now I would go pick up my child and be like, it's okay, baby. It's okay. What's the matter? Well, I'll take care. And he's egging this child on. This man was a effing monster long before I knew he was a monster. And that was caught on video. God only knows the shit he did that I don't even know anything about. So yes, they like to hurt children. They like to hurt animals. They like to hurt anyone and everyone they can. They get a power out of it because they're sick.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. You were talking about getting kicked when you were down, and it's almost like they have to turn the blood black before they suck it out of you and get as much negative chi out of it as they can. I'm an energy sensitive myself. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
They got to make it palatable. First off, I want to say we just found out Shawn got fired. I like that. That was a little Dragonstorm you got. Like that.
Well, that's when Mama Bear comes out. It's like, you did that to my baby. You did that to my
right.
Baby.
You can do whatever you want to me, but
that's when I get
right. I love it. I love it. Now, I mean, Coil. We've talked about this on our our spiritual program.
Yeah.
They have to, in order to digest your energy, in order to consume it, they have to bring you down. They have to bring you down to a lower vibration. When they love when you're shining bright because it's not something that they can do. They can fake it, they can emulate it, but they can't actually be bright shining lights. They can't resonate at that level of that high resonance. So they got to bring you down. They got to break down your food. And in order to do that, they got to condition you. They have to insult you. They have to make you question your worth. They have to create arguments. They have to make you emotionally unregulated so that it's not only just a feeling of control, but it's also siphoning your energy entirely. I mean, the entire matrix of a narcissist is sustaining the narcissistic shell, sustaining the false self, using external force instead of using their broken inner child. And so first off, they want to pass on their pain. They want to pass. They don't want everybody. They want everybody else to want to be as traumatized and as ugly as they are. They want everybody to be as evil, lying as they are. That's why they lie to themselves and imagine that everyone else is a liar. Well, you're lying to me, or everything's backwards with them. So they project that because they need to believe that everyone is like them, and they also enforce trying to break you down and destabilize you, turn you into them. The whole trauma bonding process and the whole abuse cycle itself is meant to make you emotionally deregulated and to make you insane and keep accepting abuse, and then being emotionally abusive yourself. They love that. I mean, you're talking about people that hate themselves, depending on the type of narc, depending on who they are, whether they're rubbing themselves in peanut butter wearing grandmom's underwear, or they're, just out there just punching themselves in the balls. Whatever type of sicko you're dealing with, they want to be hurt. They want that pain. I have had experiences with narcissists or narcissistic psychopaths who really relished in being clowned, in being the fight, and going up against somebody who would talk down to them and devalue them. And it was a very sick thing. I mean, Coyle, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It was a very strange thing for me to understand that talking to this person in that way, and I want to say talking down to him, basically talking down to this person got them off. It gave them what they wanted. They wanted that pain. They wanted to be disrespected.
To justify their worldview. Absolutely.
To justify their worldview, but also because their pain was so great because of the damage done by their parents, that that's their attention. That was their warped worldview. That was how they got not affection, but some type of emotional interaction from the outside.
It's another form of energetic sustenance.
Thank you very much. Yes, I couldn't think of the right.
Yeah. No, that's
so. Yeah. So I mean, so when it comes down to it, you're talking about these energy vampires. They got to break you down. They've got to make deregulate you, because if you are compassionate and caring, though, they can't deal with those things. They don't want those things. They only want them insofar as if they can manipulate to keep you there while using them. They want the crying. They want the hysteria. They want the anger. They want the sadness. That's all they want. And that's what they feed from. That's what they get the most supply from. I don't know. Scotty, how you doing out there, buddy?
I'm doing good. I think my audio's fixed. You guys, when I was listening to you were also cutting in and out. It's driving me insane. I was listening for a while through.
All right, we're not going to point out other people's audio problems now, Scott.
So I'm back, and so
we use statements in here.
I never even got to say hello to Coyle. So hello to Coyle.
Hey, what's up, Scott?
Good to see you.
You know, that's sort of like driving people to hysterics. When you were speaking about your situation where people are like pulling clips of you and trying to get you to react. I mean, number one, that's terrible, but what a strong energy source you must be for these people to want yours. You know what I mean? What a backhanded compliment.
I mean, it's exactly it, Coyle. And you remember when what's his name was doing weekly segments on me, had nothing to do with the relationship at all, just found Narc X and said, hey, I'm going to promote this person because I know it hurts him. And I'm going to bring on all these people that I know stab this guy in the back because I know it'll hurt him. And we're going to do weekly segments about Steve Walton, all because I offhandedly didn't even know who this narc was. Questioned just questioned him. He was abusing somebody else that I knew by proxy, and I just questioned this guy. And so he started doing weekly segments. Imagine the amount of influence you have over a person who is so weak, who is so full of doubt, who cannot generate their own power, that the only thing they can do is cut you up and do segments on you. That has got to be the most weak shit. I mean, you got to kind of feel bad for that guy, you know. You got to kind of feel bad for people like that.
Narcissists are weak, you know, because it absolutely speaks more of them.
Absolutely,
who does that? I mean, who does that? No one. No one. I mean, think about all the bad people in the world that you could, if you really wanted to do some good, that you could do segments on, and you're doing it on someone that is not, you know, some horrible human being, and you're pulling in people that have hurt you in the again, it speaks volumes of them. And I'll say, we all kind of talked about the same person. The people that follow those people are all, you look at their comments and stuff. It's like, no, you know, birds of a feather flock together. Well, that's it. You want to know who someone is? Look at their friends. They're all the same.
Absolutely.
They're pulling from that same dark energy source.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Go ahead.
I tend to, when I think about why, because I've gone through the rumination of why would these people do this to me? And like numerous people have come after me to smear me and say horrible things about me. And the only thing that I can think of, and tell me if you think that this is it's envy. It's this envy which breeds hatred. I think envy is first. A lot of people think that love and hate are like polar opposites, like yin and yang, black and white. I think it's love and I got cat hair on me. I think it's love and envy. And I think envy breeds hatred, but I think envy happens first. And it's the envy that breeds the, I have to push this person down, I have to destroy them, I have to smear them, I have to say horrible things, and I have to like start a group of gang stalking so I don't feel alone in this, so I don't look like the bad guy. So I pull other people into this so that I don't look like the bad guy, because now it's popular opinion. Is that close?
Well, it's a cowardly thing, man. All right, like it's that. Okay, anybody that needs other people to co-sign to their negative narrative is not standing on truth. They're not standing on any kind of personal strength. It's a lie. If you need to gather flying monkeys, if you need to gather a smear campaign, if you need to create a platform and grab people together, you're not a strong person. You're a weak person. And every person who joins into that is not a strong person either. They're also weak people. People who depend on drama. People who need drama or need to hate somebody they're trying to escape hatred within themselves.
Yeah.
All right. They're broken.
They hate themselves. Yeah.
They hate themselves.
So they envy people who don't really hate themselves.
Who don't hate themselves.
Right.
But
I could definitely use loving myself a little bit better. That's for sure. It's part of the healing journey, but I don't absolutely despise myself. I'm kind of a nice guy, I think. And so these people, they hate themselves so much that they just can't stand. They don't understand. They can't stand people who don't despise themselves. And so
Scotty, first off,
am I right?
Look, Scotty, first off, you're too nice. All right. If I swung that way, I'd marry you. All right. You're too nice.
Here's one I'm reading. Worthy of Love by Debbie Misra. Because I am, damn it.
Yes, you are. I want to add something to that. I don't, again, I'm only speaking from my own experience, but they do hate you. And I don't know, they do hate you. I know my ex hates me. He hated me. I could see the hate in his eyes. He stood before me and said, I wish we lived in a different country so I could beat you. I knew he hated me. I think that they hate you because they know that they can never be you. They know they can't be kind and compassionate and loving and forgiving. They know that they lack. And again, it's just like someone who wants to hurt a child or an animal. They want to hurt something that's beautiful and kind. They just hate it. And that's how it is. They hate you, Scott. They hate you, Stephen. They hate you, Coyle. They hate me. They hate anyone that is anything that they're not.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll go to any ends to do it because they hate so much.
Do you think the love bomb? Oh, go ahead, sweetie. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, it's kind of, not to pull like religion into this, and I'm not trying to do that, but it's kind of like the Pharisees were so jealous of Jesus. They were so jealous of him. They wanted him dead. Mm-hmm. Come on. That's insane. Mm-hmm. That's how these people are.
He was smarter than them. He beat them in all, like if you read through the red letters, he beat them in every conversation.
He did. And they couldn't stand that. They couldn't stand that he had a huge following. They couldn't stand that he was loved. They couldn't stand that he was right. They wanted him dead. Same way narcissists want us dead. It really is a fight between good and evil.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Well said. Yeah.
It absolutely is.
Well, and love and hate and envy and jealousy and obsession, they're all very close emotions. And especially for somebody who's emotionally stunted or low emotional intelligence, they can vacillate between those in an instant and then confuse one for the other. And especially if they think they're not worthy, or if their concept of love stemmed from abuse in their own lives, there's no way. And then we, as the other person in the relationship, we're not even like seeing them and loving them. We're seeing an idealized version of that, or we're seeing the if I just hang on long enough version of who they might, ought to, could be, possibly, maybe someday. But it's kind of like a denial of what's before us, and that's part of our challenge as the other person in the relationship is to.
Well, I think that part of the challenge also is the recognition of another person who's damaged. The compassion that we have for someone who's like, oh, okay, you went through this as a kid, I went through something similar, or I understand where you're coming from, and you want to be there to help that person. You want to, because you've shouldered a burden, you've shouldered a heavy burden yourself from childhood that you have lived with, and so you want to help someone else. It's about empathy and compassion. The narcissist uses that. This is the insidious part of it. Like, at one point they were a victim. At one point in their lives, they were victims, but then they decided to traumatize others and continue that pain. The nature of a narcissist, as I said, I believe, is to continue to pass on pain. And so the insidious nature of a person who understands that you love them or want to be there for them or want to help them because you've been through that, because the person that's helping them has been through something, and then using that to manipulate, distort, and destroy the other person is so evil. Like, if that is evil, I can't see it any other way.
It is evil. You're absolutely right. It is evil. And Coyle, I agree with what you were saying. That was really well said. But I also want to add this, I think we always, if we did share, like Stephen, like you're saying, similar childhood traumas, but the difference is you have empathy. They don't. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like a plant. You keep watering a dead plant, it doesn't come back. That's why you can't help these people. Right. The gray matter in their brain that was supposed to develop, as Coyle was saying, they're emotionally stunted. That never developed. And so there's no amount of therapy or praying or church or anything else that's going to bring that gray matter back. It's kind of like, my eyes are brown. They don't change if I'm in Europe. They don't change if I'm in Washington, D.C. They're going to be brown no matter where I go. These people are who they are. We cannot change it. There is no changing it, because I'll get comments sometimes on my channel, we need to pray for these people. These people are sick and they need help. No, you don't understand. You can't change these people. We tried the whole thing in the 80s of trying to take prisoners and reform them. And we realized that shit doesn't work. Like, there are some people who are wired wrong, and there's no amount of trying to reform them that is going to work. They're like that.
It's like, I don't love you very much, I reform you very much.
If I could just sort of build on what Shawn was just saying, I've also heard that, in watching probably hundreds or thousands of videos on narcissism and psychology in the last few years, I've heard that the gray matter, like you were just saying, the part that builds empathy when you're young, or that, I don't know exactly, whatever it is, you learn empathy and care from your parents if they give it to you. You learn that. If you don't learn it, there's like a cutoff point where you've not learned it and you cannot grow it. That's gone forever after a certain period of time, with trauma being introduced in that time where you're supposed to be growing and learning empathy. And if you don't have that, it's like literally you've crossed the line. You will never have empathy. And empathy is the very thing that makes us good humans. It's like the most critical component of our human nature. And if you don't have it, you end up being kind of not human, or not a good one. And the demons love you then, or they're going to love to take over. So it's kind of like trying to water a dead plant. It doesn't work.
And Ravenclaw has a new hashtag in the chat. Thank you again. Shawn, narcs are dead plants. Thank you.
I like that. That's exactly what they are. Narcs are dead at the root.
I'm going to make the t-shirt. I'll put it on my store. Narcs are dead
We're
plant.
reviving that narc dead plant. I like that. I like that a lot.
I hadn't heard about the development aspect. Actually, it's the first time I've heard about that. So does that have anything to do with, let's say a person goes through severe trauma at age 14, 15, and they become emotionally stuck at that point, like they don't develop any further? Does that also have some type of bearing on the development of their empathy, or is that just emotional intelligence? Do you guys know?
I don't know how to answer your question directly, but what you just said.
Oh, indirectly is fine.
Okay, maybe I'll go indirectly.
Go around
because
it, circumvent it.
we've talked about our love of heavy metal, you and I.
Yes, sir.
Because we're rockers, even with short
Mhm.
hair. But Metallica's latest album is called 72 Seasons, and what it's about is 72 seasons is 18 years of life. That's 72 divided by 18 is 4 or something.
Mhm.
A season, there's 4 seasons in a year. Anyway, 72 seasons is 18 years, and apparently that's it's a critical time for your development and everything that you learn from mentors, teachers, and specifically parents. And James Hetfield, the lyric writer and main songwriter of Metallica, once you understand Narcissism, you'll understand Metallica's songs, because this guy has been going
A lot of them.
He's not writing about himself being evil or like metal evil. He's literally writing about his trauma constantly. Like most songs are around that. And so their last album is called 72 Seasons, and it's a theme, and it's about that. It's about the first 18 years of your life are just critical of determining who you're going to be. And
Absolutely.
So that's what I thought of when you mentioned that. Is
All right, thank you.
Medallia.
All right, well, I don't know. I dealt with a situation with people who are emotionally. Okay, thank you. Sorry, Shawn.
I was gonna try to answer your question.
Thank you for saving me.
I think people go through trauma. Lots of people go through trauma.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at the children that have come out of like World War II, and I mean, way more than I know my ex-husband went through, although his mother is. I still think it's a choice. I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong. But look, I have absolutely no reason to be who I am except for God. And honestly, I give the credit to him. I love my mother a lot, but she was very abusive. My dad served in Vietnam on the front lines, and he came back. He just couldn't function. They used to drop, I don't know if you guys know this, but in Vietnam, they would drop crates of beer and pot down on our soldiers so that they could stay numb. Well, they all came back with addiction problems, and they were all had a lot of issues. My dad was an incredible man, but he was dealing with his own demons. My sister was mentally retarded. I was alone. When I say alone, I was a latchkey kid. I got off the bus in first grade. I was 6 years old. I'd walk up the street. I had a key around my neck. I'd let myself in. I was alone. The only reason I came out an empathetic, caring person, and I am not perfect, is God. It's God. It's God. So I could have turned out to be exactly a royal, evil individual, and I didn't. And even after everything I went through, I just kept saying, God, make me, just heal me. Just please be with me. Just please help me. I do think that it's a choice. I do. There's people who've been through horrible traumas that turn out to be wonderful people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that it is a genetic component. I think it really is a spiritual choice. But again, I don't know. It's just my personal opinion.
I think you're right. I think people go through certain things in their childhood, and they choose how they're going to manage that. Some people manage it with selfishness, and they choose that direction. Other people manage it with people pleasing. I chose people pleasing.
Yeah, me too.
And the people pleasers end up being nicer. They have their own set of traumas and toxicity. And the empaths are not, pure, but we have our own toxicity, but it's the good kind.
Sure. It's the opposite ends of the spectrum, right?
Yeah.
So as a child, you either deny the self, which is, okay, I'm going to put everybody ahead of me and maybe people will love me, or that's an empath. I'm going to deny myself. I'm going to put everybody else ahead of me, and God, just somebody love me. Or you become a narcissist where you go, you know what? It looks like everybody's out for themselves. So everybody, I'm going to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah.
It's really what it's
well, Shawn, you really gave me something to think about with that. Thank you. All right. Because but people pleasing, that's what I did, Scott. Yeah, that's who I was.
You denied the self.
Yeah, absolutely.
We all
Absolutely.
did, probably. Right?
At least to that degree. I mean, we're all got to take care of ourselves. We do things to please ourselves and whatnot, but it's not to the point of stepping on people.
No. When I say deny the self, I mean, we absolutely put ourselves last. We wanted to put everybody else ahead. I mean, I took care of my sister. I took care of my dad. I took care of my mom. Then I got married to my narcissistic husband. I had 2 sets of twins. Our youngest daughter was diagnosed with cancer when she was 3. I was always doing, taking care of, doing. And who always came last?
Yeah.
That's not healthy.
So it's like a martyrdom kind of thing.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's not healthy. It's absolutely not healthy.
No.
There has to be a balance. You know, it's kind of like when you get on the airplane, they say, put the mask on yourself before you put it on your child. Well, we're not worth much if we don't take care of ourselves. We think taking care of ourselves is selfish.
Right.
Yeah.
And we have to learn a balance.
Yeah. That's what I had to learn. That's almost exactly what one of the things that I had to learn about me in order to start thinking better about myself. Having expectations instead of just allowing myself to be walked on by people. You know, like, why am I missing people or gravitating to people who use me and don't give that energy back? And it all came from because I'm giving it. Right. That's exactly it. Because I'm giving and giving and giving because I want them to be okay and not think about myself. And that's what I was doing.
You're a supply distributor. You're just distributing supply. And so they'll be like, hey, that guy's distributing supply. I don't have to give him anything. I
understand, Scott. I was like an ATM for supply. I was like a vending machine. I didn't like that.
I think we all were. And, you know, something my therapist said, which I thought was very interesting. She said, you married your mother. She said, you know, you keep, the way our brains are, we keep reliving the past thinking we're going to get a different outcome. If only we could be seen, heard, and loved. And we keep choosing the wrong people. And it's not that there's something wrong with Scott or something wrong with Shawn or something wrong with Steve or Coyle. It's our brain's way of saying, if only I could be seen and heard by this person, it'll make up for all the times in my past, especially when I was a child and I wasn't. And that's just simply not true.
Oh my Lord. I've got to close her out here soon. Scotty, do you have any final thoughts or questions you want to ask Shawn before we close it out?
Didn't think about it. Just going with the flow.
I know I was going with the flow too. I'm trying to be professional. That's all.
It's great. Yeah, you get your closing arguments.
Well, you didn't get to talk all too much because your audio was screwed up for like 50 whole minutes. Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Thanks for your input, Scott.
That's exactly what it was like.
Thanks for your input, Scott. Valuable stuff.
Got the tremolo on.
Glad you're here.
I'm like asking Coyle in the backstage. Is Scott coming through bad? I don't understand what's going on right now.
I think I was getting. This has happened to me a couple times on these streams, and you know, my immediate paranoia is there's somebody out there that's like
there's a narcissist out there chewing on your internet cables. Yeah. I know what's going on. We all know. I understand.
Reset it. Put on the some protection things, and it seems to be okay.
Listen. The next time that you feel that way, Scott, this is what I want you to do. Next time you feel like there's a hoovering hobgoblin like stalking you, all right? I want you to know that man or that person is right now imagining you in a banana hammock on a tropical beach. He is so in love with you. It's just like you are the sexiest thing ever, and he has to destroy that. He yearns for your foreskin, sir. You have to accept that and just let that happen. All right? That's the only way you're getting rid of it.
It's almost dinner time. Why are you doing this to me?
Oh, God.
If you think of it like that, it's not that bad. If you think about them like a goblin, it's not that bad. You know, it's just like, wow, that's just, ew. You know, you
narc
smack it away.
They're narc
squirrels. Right.
Chewing on the cables.
Just got to wrap your Ethernet cable in salt next time.
Yeah. But it's been wonderful to hang out with everyone today, especially good to see you, Shawn. Yeah.
It's good to see you too, Scott. I really enjoyed this. Thank you so much.
No, I appreciate you. I didn't even expect that. It was a cool interaction, and then you started talking. And every time I get to speak with someone who is in this community that we're in, it's always a pleasant experience. And because I look up to you to a degree. I look up to all of the creators out there that are doing what we've done. Because even if I wasn't watching you or someone else early in, the fact that you're doing what you're doing adds to a community that saved my life. And I don't know if I'd be here if it wasn't for people like Shawn, who talks about these topics and is there as an outlet or as a bridge for me to understand what I went through, or to someone to just like forgive me when I couldn't forgive myself or understand what I was going through, and I was just too terribly brokenhearted and upset. And it's life-saving. So, like, thank you. That's why we do these shows every week, because you guys are heroes to us, and we really appreciate you.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I really enjoyed it. It's a connection like nothing else, because we've all been through something that very few people understand. And I'm sure you're all in agreement when I say we wouldn't wish it on anyone. No one.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. No, but education is key.
War. It's like being a veteran.
Yeah. It is.
You have veteran status. Like I barely survived a war.
Yeah.
That I didn't even sign up for.
No,
yeah.
I agree.
And education is key. And even for people who haven't been through it, just for them to even understand, even if they can't fathom, and I understand not being able to fathom the idea of someone being so evil that they live off destroying people life after life. But it just, you never know. That's why I tell people in like the indie sphere that I work in, I also do like entertainment commentary, and I will tell them, just educate yourself on it, because you don't know if your sister, brother, uncle, father, cousin, it just starts acting weird gets into a relationship, starts acting weird, like starts self-destructing and spiraling down. It might not be drugs that's doing that, or it might not be something. It might be with a narcissist, and just having the understanding of what they're going through. You may not be able to stop it, but you might save a family member's life, a friend's life, because you are understanding enough that you can be there in a critical moment, that they are going to need that positive system, support system.
That is such a great point. That is such a great point. That really rang a bell with me. Really did. I really like that, because I mean, as far as my kids were concerned, my ex-husband, my mom, I was an alcoholic. And had anger issues. Couldn't be further from the truth. But that was a very valid point, because there was a lot of abuse going on there. And I really like that. If you have a family member that starts acting out of character, look more into it to see what might be going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we didn't know, right? We didn't know what narcissism was. We didn't know what NPD was. We didn't know what narcissistic abuse cycle was. And a part of it for me also was losing friends that I really loved, because they didn't understand what I was going through, and all they saw was me acting out. And then they had the smear campaigns, which were insanely everywhere for me. And I get it. Like, I get from the outside looking in, seeing how I'm acting and how I'm self-destructing and all of that, and then hearing what these other liars are saying and my actions backing up their lies. I can understand that. But if more, it might, things are what they are. But if someone else is in a situation like that, and one of those friends is educated on what narcissistic abuse is, what this abuse cycle is, how it operates, and what they do, then maybe that one friend will be able to save that person, or do something positive for them. Because I was suicidal as well, and it got to that point. And it's a scar. Something like that is a scar that stays with you, that you've always got to kind of pull yourself up out of now and again. Because when you hit depression, once you go that low, if you hit depression, you have the possibility of going down that low again. Mm-hmm. And I think everybody on this panel has dealt with that. Yeah. So if you can save somebody from hitting that point, do it. And if being educated is what can be done in order to help someone, then keep preaching, guys. Everybody out there in the chat, right, to talk about it. If you need to talk about it, make a channel, make a TikTok, make an Instagram, make a whatever. Don't be afraid to have that conversation of your experiences and what you went through. And if you see somebody that you love going through it, I'm sure you're going to point it out and say, that person's a narc or a psycho, or I know what's happening there, because education is key. We're fighting evil. We're literally fighting evil people who live off the destruction of others, destroying life after life, have no care, no qualms whatsoever, and gaslighting, destroying, manipulating, destroying your character, trying to drive you into an early grave so that they can play the victim and while tap dancing on it. And it's insane. It is evil and it's insane. This is spiritual war, and it's. I mean, even if you look, even if you don't believe in, even if you are like agnostic or you don't believe in spirituality, this is basic good against evil. Stay vigilant, brothers and sisters. Keep your boundaries strong. Love yourselves. Love one another. Be good to each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Very well said. Very well
Thank
said.
you.
Well,
Yeah.
and since we're talking about spirituality, in those low moments, strengthening your spiritual resolve is what's going to pull you through it. I was talking to somebody not so long ago, and they said, why is it that we're made to suffer and take so much shit? And I said, it's because God knows that we can. We're that
That's
strong.
it.
I love
That's
that.
it.
I love that. I know we got to go, but I want to add this.
Oh, go ahead.
I think about us like this, okay? We're all standing up in heaven, and God says, who's going to take one for the team? And we all go, we'll do it. We'll do it. God says, are you sure? Are you sure? Because I'm going to send you down there, and you're going to get smacked left, right, side, center. And we say, yeah, God, we got this.
Yes, absolutely.
That's what
And
we volunteered for this. We did. We didn't know it.
Absolutely.
Now we do. Now we're picking up our sword and we're putting on our armor, and God's got our back, and we know we're here to fight evil. Period.
Yep. Well said, Shawn. I believe that exact thing, actually. Yeah. Well said. What's do you have anything going on? Any upcoming shows or anything you want to promote for the audience, Shawn?
Well, I am putting together a comeback course, which I'm super excited about. I'm working on it, and I'm working on it pretty diligently because I've got to get it out before I start law school. It's really a course on, I'm trying to get people who have come out of it to disconnect from that emotional part and look at the facts. Because the narcissist leaves you with, it's you, it's all your fault, you feel responsible, and you're trauma bonded to this person. And I want this course, it's 6 weeks, so it's not going to do it, but I want to plant the seed that says, hey, there's something better. I didn't deserve this. And let's look at the facts and reality. Once I started looking at reality, I said, okay, if I really was this broken, alcoholic, angered person, excuse my French, where the fuck were you? You were my husband.
Yeah.
Where were you? Because you sure as hell weren't helping me.
Yeah.
You weren't saying, hey, baby, I've got your back. You know, I want you. You were busy cheating. You were busy putting me down. You were busy turning against me. So where the fuck were you? So I want people like to really look at the facts and try to take all the manipulation that the narcissist has done out, right? So that's what this course is all about, and I'm super excited about it, and I hope it's good, and I hope it helps. I hope it helps a lot of people. So.
That's incredible, guys. Please be on the lookout for that. Appreciate you, Shawn. Thank you so much for being here. There was a wonderful time, and anytime you can come back, please let us know if you have, if you can.
I will. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Okay.
Scotty, anything?
Well, I was just going to say, Randy is on the thumbnail here. He was going to be here, Coach Randy White, and but the timing, he thought it was going to be like at 8 o'clock or 2 hours later than it was.
Yeah,
and so
that's good. We changed the time last week.
Yeah, and
but he was here last week at 7, so I want to hear not from Randy. No, that's all right.
I think it was pushed back a little bit more, or the thinking anyway was that it was going to be starting now.
Dude, he's so busy. He's like, my man is coaching people like this all week. He's so busy. It's we just got to get him back. We got to get him to a new rhythm. That's all.
It'd be great to get all of us together again. But
yeah, it would be. It would be beautiful. Is there anything you want to promote, Scotty? You've been out there pumping content like a mother for the last couple of days.
A little bit. I'm just trying to get something on out there. But I just finished. I started writing a song in January called Energy Vampires, about energy vampire, and we talked a little bit about that. And I think I just kind of finished it in the last week.
Cool.
And so I put the link. It's a SoundCloud link. I put it in the private chat here, but I'll also put it in the chat down here if anybody wants to listen to my song. There it is.
And guys, when you listen to that song, all right, Tropical beach, banana hammock, Scott Clarke. Okay,
You
gotta keep. All right.
I'm sending my narc squirrels to your mother's basement. That's what's happening next.
All right. The same. I'm wearing boxers. All right. Coyle, anything you got going on this week, brother?
Well, I just got back into the mix. Life has been lifey. Let's say that. You can catch me on my channel with author Stephen Walton, Lodonis Dragonstorm, Saturday nights, 11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We do a show called Savage Spirituality, which is sort of like the Jedi Council and sort of like Art Bell. We had a really great show last night. Check out my channel. Hit the live tab. I got a playlist called Modern Savage Spirituality, and it has all the shows that we've done since Stephen has been the co-host. My channel needs 600 more hours before it's monetized, and it needs to happen by December. So I would ask you guys, if you could just, like, even if you don't want to listen to the whole playlist, just open up a blank tab and fucking mute the thing and let it
He's
run.
like, don't listen to me. If you don't want to listen to me,
you don't even got to. If you want to, that's cool. You might learn something, but no pressure.
Right.
Just get me monetized.
All right, brother. Thank you to everybody out there in the chat tonight. Thank you so much to Shawn for being here. Wonderful guest. Thank you to my parents for letting me use their basement. Oh my, I look awful. I don't want to be on the big screen. But most of all, thank you to every single person, every subscriber, the Dragonstorm community, looking out for one another out there in the chat all day. Just talking to one another, supporting each other. You don't know how greatly appreciated that is. You don't know how much that, or you do. You understand exactly how much that means to someone who has going through what we have. Hell, dealing with a hoovering hobgoblin is no fun. But thank you guys so very much. You give me strength. To be good, I am Lodonis, Ravenwolf, Dragonstorm, Yasir, and Sage. Hail to my fellow survivors and thrivers from narcissistic abuse. Please remember to wash your hands, wash your ass, be good to each other, yet suffer no fool.
Remember this day, man, for it will be yours for all time. We have shown them that a trembling hand can become a fist. We have challenged the idea that a slave must always know his place, excepting Rod and Lash because he was taught to accept it. We built their mighty republic with our hands and our blood and our lives. And we can see it fall at equal cost. You opened my eyes to this, Spartacus.